Hello and welcome to another episode of The Word for Kids. I'm Jamie and I'm guiding you through the books of 1st and 2nd Samuel in a series of 20 episodes.
Last time we learned about Nabal and Abigail. David sent 10 young men to Nabal to ask Nabal for some food and supplies in exchange for protecting his land and flocks. But Nabal was mean and refused to help at all. David and 400 men went to confront Nabal. When Abigail heard this, she loaded her donkeys with food and met up with David. She asked David to forgive Nabal's offense and accept her gift. David accepted what she brought. After Abigail told Nabal what had happened, he died. Eventually, David asked Abigail to become his wife.
And that's where we left off last time. Are you ready for today's adventure? Let's go. Now the Israelites were fighting against the Philistines, and as the Israelites were fleeing, many of them died on Mount Gilboa. The Philistines were pursuing Saul and his sons, and they killed his sons Jonathan, Abinadab, and Malchishua. Remember, Jonathan was a dear friend of David's and had pointed him to the Lord when he was in trouble. When his sons were killed, Saul told his armor-bearer to kill him so that the Philistines could not capture and abuse him, but his armor-bearer was terrified and wouldn't do it. So Saul took his own sword and fell on it. When his armor-bearer saw that Saul had died, he also fell on his sword and died with him. So Saul, his armor-bearer, his 3 sons, and all of his men died, all in the same day. Wow, that was a very sad day for Saul, his family, and the Israelites. That's our last passage from 1 Samuel, but the story continues right into 2 Samuel. When David heard of Saul and Jonathan's death, he mourned deeply for them, and he even wrote a song in his grief that he had the people learn. In the course of time, David asked the Lord, "Shall I go up to one of the towns of Judah?" The Lord said, "Go up." "Where shall I go?" David asked. "To Hebron," the Lord answered. So David went to Hebron. The men of Judah came to Hebron as well, and there they anointed David king over the tribe of Judah. David heard that it was the men of Jabesh Gilead who had buried Saul, and he sent messengers to say to them, "The Lord bless you for showing this kindness to Saul your master by burying him. May the Lord show you kindness and faithfulness, and I will show you the same. Be brave. The people of Judah have anointed me king over them." Meanwhile, Abner, who was the commander of Saul's army, took Ishbosheth, who was another of Saul's sons, and made him king over Gilead, Ashuri, Jezreel, Ephraim, Benjamin, and all Israel. Ishbosheth was 40 when he became king over Israel, and he reigned for 2 years. However, the tribe of Judah remained loyal to David. Abner and Ishbosheth's men went to Gibeon, and a man named Joab also went with David's men and met them at the pool of Gibeon. One group sat down on one side of the pool, and one group sat down on the other side. Abner said to Joab, "Let's have some of the young men get up and fight in front of us." And Joab agreed. So they counted off 12 men for Ishbosheth and 12 men for David. All 24 of them died fighting each other. The battle grew and was very fierce, and David's men defeated Abner and the Israelites. The war between the house of Saul and the house of David lasted a long time. David grew stronger and stronger, while the house of Saul grew weaker and weaker. All the tribes of Israel came to David at Hebron and said, "We are your own flesh and blood. When Saul was king, you were the one who led Israel's military, and the Lord told you you would become their ruler." The elders of Israel came to King David at Hebron, and he made a covenant with them before the Lord. They anointed David king over Israel. David was 30 years old when he became king, and he reigned for 40 years. In Hebron, he reigned over Judah for 7 years and 6 months. And in Jerusalem, he reigned over all Israel and Judah for 33 years. And that's where our story ends for today. It's time for the verse to remember. Today's verse is 2 Samuel 7:28. Sovereign Lord, you are God. Your covenant is trustworthy, and you have promised these good things to your servant. One more time. Sovereign Lord, you are God. Your covenant is trustworthy, and you have promised these good things to your servant. 2 Samuel 7:28. That leads us right into today's word of the day.
Hello Hello again, it's me, Eugene the Turtle, and I'm here with another word of the day. Today's word is trustworthy. Trustworthy is to be reliable, like God's covenant. God's covenant was trustworthy. God always does what he says he'll do. Trustworthy.
We've spent a lot of time through many episodes of The Word for Kids talking about how God keeps his promises. There are many examples all through Scripture of God's trustworthiness, and this story is no different. God told David he would become the ruler of the Israelites, and he did become their king. There were times as Saul tried over and over to kill David that I'm sure it seemed very unlikely he'd survive to be king. It probably seemed near impossible, but God could not be limited by what David, or anyone else for that matter, thought was possible. And we serve the same God David did. He still cannot be limited by what humans think is impossible. God still works in amazing ways every day, and as I will keep reminding you every chance I get, God always keeps his promises. That's all we have for this episode. I can't wait to see you again for another episode of The Word for Kids.